My family found out that my fiancé was cheating on me with my best friend and didn't tell me. How do I confront them and deal with their betrayal? I'm 22 and really need some advice on how to handle this situation. A week ago, I discovered that my whole family has been assisting my fiancé, M23, in concealing his affair with my best friend, 23F. I made this account because I really have no one else to share this with. My mind decided that talking to people online would be the way to go. I'm glad none of my family or friends have read it. To add more emotional depth, my fiancé and I have been together since 8th grade. It was on and off until 2020. Sorry if this gets lengthy. There's a lot to go through, and I just want to catch up on what I have. I need to find a way to talk to my family, best friend, and fiancé while keeping my dignity intact. Here are the names and ages of everyone involved for context. Richard is my half-brother, 26. Maria is my half-sister, 27. Angie is my mom, 56. Peach is my best friend. Alex, my fiancé, is soon to be my ex. A week ago, Alex took a shower and left his phone on the bed. My fiancé and I have an open phone policy because we both dealt with cheating in past relationships. It's surprising to see my situation. I was getting my suitcase ready for a family trip that starts after my rehearsal dinner tomorrow. I noticed his phone constantly buzzing. He shouted from the shower if I could mute his phone. I grabbed his phone and noticed it was a call from Peach. I was curious at first, but since she's in my bridal party, it didn't seem too suspicious. I silenced my phone and then sent a message to Peach from my own device. This is a summary of what we talked about. Hey Peach, my fiancé is in the shower right now. What do you need? Peach, just forget it. Just wanted to check with him about the flowers for your bouquet and aisle. That's strange. I still feel the same about the flowers and everything. The florist was reached out to last month and Tony had already taken care of the payment. Tony is my mom's spouse. Peach, is that really what you want? I recall him saying you had a change of heart. After that, it was just the typical wedding conversation. Looking back, it was odd that she called him about 6 times to confirm a flower choice when she could have just texted me or Alex. After Alex finished his shower, I mentioned that Peach had called him regarding my flower choices. I asked him why he thought I changed my mind about the flowers for the wedding. He stopped for a moment. I realized now he was just stalling and making that thinking face when I asked. He said he thought I had brought it up briefly at dinner. I said I didn't remember that. He shrugged, picked up his phone, and went back into the bathroom. I really dislike being that kind of person. For once, I felt my gut sink. I felt really paranoid and couldn't get rid of it. I told myself it was just my past cheating trauma coming back. I couldn't just forget about this. Alex and I had dinner, and I managed to stay awake until it was time for bed. I acted like I was the first to fall asleep. Alex and I usually cuddle to fall asleep. Once I was sure he was sound asleep, I decided to look at his phone again. I looked through his Instagram, Snapchat, MChat, and messages, but I found nothing. I went to his Facebook Messenger. He uses Messenger to talk to his family abroad. I just saw his immediate family, and most of the messages were about booking flights for the wedding. We planned to get married in December with a winter wonderland theme. In my past relationships, I looked through his Messenger archives. That's when the shocking reality was revealed. A group chat included Peach, Alex, Richard, Angie, and Maria. A year ago, a group chat was created where Alex and Peach admitted to having an affair with my family. At first, my mom did shame them. Later, she asked Alex if he really loved Peach. It's true, you can't control who you love. Thanks for that, Mom. That was really useful. He claimed he was completely certain and that he loved me as well. TF. Maria and Richard suggested that Alex talk to me about an open relationship. They are both in open relationships and married, and it seems to be working for them in their own way. At this point, we were already engaged. Alex told them it felt too deep to bring up. Angie, my mom, who I struggle to refer to as that now, mentioned they would support Alex and Peach until he was ready to discuss an open relationship with me. While I was reading, I couldn't help but wonder how my family could betray me like that. How could Peach do that to me? We've known each other since kindergarten. We grew up with Alex. How can she justify sleeping with my fiancé and claiming that she loves him as well? Everything in this awful group chat. Can you believe Alex had the audacity to say he loves me too? For him to experience betrayal like this firsthand? I really felt like throwing up. I kept taking screenshot after screenshot. I discovered that Peach had taken my spot on our last family trip. I had a terrible stomach bug some time back that kept me from going out. I can't even picture what happened on the trip. The fact that my mother was fine with all of this is what hurts the most. She knew for an entire year that my fiancé was cheating on me. It's taking forever to just sit, and I can feel it. There are additional details in the group chat, but these are the key points. I've been aware of it for a week now. It's been bothering me a lot, and I just want to let it all out and yell at them. I want to make them suffer like they made me suffer. It hurts a lot, and I really need advice on how to confront them. Where do I start? What should I say? The anger I feel is so strong that I think if I express it, I might seem crazy. I need help. Reddit. Anything would be appreciated. I'm going to confront them tomorrow at our rehearsal dinner. Update 2. The situation has gotten more intense. I hope Reddit doesn't let me down. I will summarize my first update if the issues in my initial post remain unresolved. This is for those who are new here. Peach, former best friend Alex, ex-fiancé's egg donor, my mother Tony, my egg donor's soon-to-be ex. I sent the screenshots to Alex's parents. His parents were really angry. I set up text messages to go out to everyone during the rehearsal dinner. I sent the screenshots to Peach's dad too. He is her sole parent. Her mother has passed away. I made sure it went to Peach's family too. I included them in the scheduled mass text once I thought they should be informed. I sent them to my family, Alex's family, and mine. Once the scheduled time passed, everything fell apart. Peach was getting yelled at by my former friends about why things got out of hand. Peach's dad stopped giving her money. My grandparents, aunt, and Tony began pressing my mom for answers. She ended up admitting that she hated me. She believes I'm the cause of her struggles and misfortunes. I discovered that I was the result of a long-term affair. After my mom made a hurtful comment about me, my aunt hit her. She keeps mentioning something she is proud of. My cousin helped me escape fast when everything went crazy. Alex attempted to catch up with us. My cousin stepped in between him and took me to my aunt's place. That's my current situation. My phone has been non-stop buzzing since that time. My aunt returned and filled me in on everything that happened. They took my stuff from the apartment. My cat was the most important thing to me, and that's where my last update ended. Things have gotten out of hand. One morning, I woke up, took a long hot shower, and then turned my phone back on. I couldn't unlock it or clear the notification before my bridesmaid called me. I picked up the phone, and she started yelling at me about how I could ignore Peach and Alex when they needed help. I was confused at first, since I don't care about them anymore. I requested that she stop yelling at me, but she kept going. She yelled that Peach hurt herself. When she sent me the images, they were quite basic. Enough for the scar to show, and a bit odd. It didn't matter if it was deep enough. It still shook me. I felt like scoffing on the phone because I realized she was trying to gather support since I wasn't replying to her texts. She also mentioned that Alex tried to act strange. They discovered him at my apartment, looking all groggy. He was taken to the hospital and cleared because they didn't need to pump. He will be monitored for the next 72 hours, which is a positive step. Just because I can't stand him doesn't mean he needs to go away. Since I didn't reply to either of them before this happened, my friend group has been split pretty badly. I still don't plan on speaking to either of them. I don't care what they do to get attention, as long as they stay out of my way. When I first confronted my egg donor, Tony discovered that she had lied to him, claiming that Peach could use my ticket to join them on the trip. They arrived home and began to argue again when Tony mentioned his suspicions about my mother cheating. She began yelling at him and admitting everything. She said hurtful things, including that I have siblings who aren't his. He called the police to have her removed from his property. Tony reached out to me this morning. He is getting a divorce from her. His lawyers are preparing the documents in the coming week. They informed me that my mother admitted I was the result of a long-term affair with his best friend. I'm discovering that my egg donor is a really terrible person. After discovering that Tony is getting papers, she has attempted to backtrack. She has been calling my aunt, pleading for her to talk to Tony and stop this, or she will end up homeless. She has been attempting to reach out to Tony and his family, but they have been ignoring her. Still, this didn't satisfy my egg donor. She was aware of my aunt's schedule and attempted to come over to attack me. My cousin was with me, so she couldn't enter. Her screaming brought up some deep insecurities, and I began to feel a panic attack coming on. My cousin led me upstairs after we heard a loud crash. My mother smashed the window, ran upstairs, and came at me. For the first time, I stood up to my mother. I finally expressed all the anger I had towards her. My cousin was having a hard time getting us apart, so she ran to get our neighbor. I have some scratches and bite marks, but other than that, I'm fine. I'm also filing charges against my biological mother. I really hope I can get a restraining order. My mom left before the police arrived. I provided them with Tony's address in case she decides to return there. It seems those malicious individuals won't quit until they provoke a reaction from me. I received a call from my half-sister, which was unexpected. I interrupted her apology because I'm done listening to it. She scoffed and asked if I could watch my nieces while she, her husband, and her boyfriend went on a trip. I care about my nieces and nephews, but I told her to go F herself. If she wanted me to look after her nieces, she needed to ask my aunt first. She began yelling that I was being unfair to her and punishing her children. I informed her that I was going to punish her. She told me to forget it and that I wasn't allowed to see my nieces. I was aware this could happen, but it still hurt. I'm convinced she's saying that I dislike them. I have the screenshots saved, and my aunt and cousins said they would support me if they contact me later. This is a lot, but I honestly expect more to happen. One thing I know about the egg donor is that she really dislikes losing. She views this as a defeat and won't rest until she wins. My half-brother has blocked me on all platforms, and I think he is taking my half-sister's side. I'm feeling really upset, but I wanted to share an update with you all. I'll share more if anything changes, but if not, this might be my last update because I just want this mess to be over. On a positive note, I begin therapy next week. My aunt and cousin are currently packing up Alex's things and dropping them off at a friend of his. Kyle is on my side and has been helping me through all of this. This morning, he brought my favorite fruit to my aunt. He told me I could reach out to him whenever I needed. I asked him if he would talk to Alex again, and he said no. He's just keeping his stuff safe until his parents come to get it. I truly value him. That's all for now. I'll post an update in the comments after I get the restraining order. Here's a long update. I shared the screenshots with Alex's parents and laid out everything for them. I thought they would just brush it off or think I was lying. They called back pretty fast. They wanted to know if I had any solid evidence of their cheating apart from their admission. I told them that I didn't. I sent them a lot of screenshots when they asked for more. His mother really made me feel terrible for sending them. She was crying and saying sorry for her son. She quickly became unable to be comforted. His father took the phone and asked if there was anything his son could do to make it right. This morning, I felt insulted by his question. Later, I understood it from his point of view. I asked him if I could be honest, and he said yes. I told him that unless his son could just vanish, there wasn't much he could say. His father claimed he understood. I requested that they keep this private until I talked to Alex about it. They claimed they could, and then we hung up. I used to think that throwing up from stress was uncommon, but it finally happened to me. Alex must have heard me throwing up, not the call. I went outside to have it, since he woke up and attempted to rub my back. I raised my hand and tidied myself up. It was about 7 a.m. Alex sounded worried and asked if I was all right. For once, I truly saw nothing but red. I maintained my composure. I don't know why, but I suppose that's the superpower I'll keep. I just went back to sleep and ignored him. I got up at 8 a.m. to prepare for the rehearsal dinner. Alex said he needed to finish a few things before going to the restaurant. I said that was okay and that he would see him later. Before he left, he told me he loved me and that he was looking forward to this day. I agreed. I'm working on keeping my anger in check. After he left, I collected all the screenshots. Some people might not know that you can schedule text messages to be sent at a specific time. I chose to do this so I could share it with everyone. Peach's family, our friend groups, and both of our families. I sent it out at 1:25 p.m. This was the halfway point of the dinner, and people started dropping off gifts for us. I collected the stress building up inside me and went to the restaurant when it was time. My mom and her husband were already there. My mother hugged me, and I just stood there. Her hands on me felt like a violation of my spirit. I gave her a quick hug to keep things casual. Then we went inside. Guests began arriving, and to my surprise, everyone was on time. Other than my grandparents. They took their time, so I didn't hold it against them. Once everyone was there, Alex talked about how glad he was that everyone could make it and how he was looking forward to the next family dinner. It was meant to happen on November 20th. He said I was the love of his life and that he was really happy our families would come together and become one. I wanted to ask him how he could say that stuff. Just fake smiles and nods from me. Peach looked like a confused dog, smiling and clapping for us. Seeing this happen in real life is really surprising. People will do a lot to get what they want. The stress was overwhelming, making it hard for me to eat. At the time I scheduled for the messages, everyone's phones began buzzing, and Alex's and Peach's phones were going off nonstop. I have to say, a real smile appeared on my face this time. It felt like seeing a whole kingdom collapse. Peach and Alex looked at me with horrified expressions, and it was priceless. This is the one moment I will remember from this emotional day. My aunt lost it. She kept calling my mom a cruel, heartless person repeatedly. My mother quickly looked at her phone and noticed I had sent her the screenshots. She began yelling and getting angry, claiming I was trying to ruin her life once more. As some suggested, she still seems upset about being caught having an affair and being shunned. My grandparents' reaction was the hardest to take because they began yelling at my mother. My grandmother was making an effort. We had to hold my aunt back while she screamed as loudly as she could. My grandfather was yelling at my mother that he didn't raise a WH. At this point, everyone is screaming and crying. My other bridesmaids were yelling at Peach and calling her names. I don't like to say it, but I found some satisfaction in that. My grandfather started yelling at Alex, saying things I can't repeat because they were quite explicit. I began to laugh and cry at the same time. I felt so many emotions that my body seemed confused and reacted in every possible way. The tears wouldn't stop. My cousin hurried me outside while Alex was right behind us. He was shouting my name and pleading to have a conversation. As many of you recommended, he wanted to explain his side. I didn't pay attention to him while my cousin was trying to push him away from her car so she could get in and leave. She brought me to my aunt's house and instructed me to stay there and not open the door for anyone. I felt like a child left home alone. I stayed put and sat on the floor. That's when I started crying hard. All the feelings I've held in for a week just came out. After roughly another hour, my aunt and cousin returned home. They held me for about 5 minutes. After we finished, I saw that my aunt had some scratches on her. I guess they couldn't keep my aunt away from my mom for too long. My aunt filled me in on everything. After my cousin drove off with me, Alex returned and began yelling at Peach for messing things up. They started yelling at each other, and a few friends tried to pull them apart. My grandparents, aunt, and Tony, my mom's husband, were pressing my mother for answers. Tony was really angry. It seems that I wasn't able to go on the family trip. My mom informed Tony that I had given my ticket to Peach so she could have a nice break. Tony is now yelling and reading some of her messages aloud. She pleaded with him to stop and said she had an explanation. My aunt began to say that she needed to explain herself because all she sees is a terrible mother and a horrible person. My mother lost it and began yelling that she hated me. I messed up her life and made things hard for her. She felt like she could never be happy because I was a constant reminder of her biggest mistake. She often regretted not aborting me when she had the chance. That triggered my aunt, and she went after her. My aunt cannot have children. She said I was the daughter she never had. So in her thoughts, she went into protective mode with my mother. That's what I call her now. My aunt has played a bigger role in my life than my mother has for the past 22 years. To keep it brief, I'm feeling emotional, and the tiredness and hunger aren't making it any easier. This is what happened next. Tony is getting a divorce from my mom. He suspects she's cheating again after a few months of doubt. Peach revealed Alex's message to her, saying he was sleeping with her because he thought I was becoming distant some time ago. I worked extra hours to save money for his birthday. He felt lonely and didn't know how to talk to me about it. Peach's father called her repeatedly and plans to cut her off financially. It seems I'm to blame, and now I'm seen as the villain for messing things up for her. My mother has been sending angry texts to our family. I've hurt her again, and I feel like a terrible person for it. I should have considered that before accepting anything. My half-siblings felt it wasn't their role to speak up, suggesting I should have anticipated Alex looking for affection elsewhere, since humans aren't naturally monogamous and people love who they love. Things have changed a lot, but it feels familiar. To keep my mind from exploding with stress and anger, I've finally let it all out. I've been receiving texts and calls from everyone. Right now, my phone is in the other room. I'm writing this from my aunt's computer. My aunt said I could stay with her until I sort things out. I agreed to it since I don't plan on returning to that apartment. I emailed my landlord and will take care of it next week. My boss replied to my email and said I could use some PTO for as long as I need. I will take it since I'm thinking about moving to a quiet and peaceful place. I'm considering Iowa or possibly North Carolina. I've heard the cost of living is good in those states. Thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate all the support I've received. I'm going offline after today for a few days. I think I need to step away from everything and find a way to comfort myself. My aunt and cousin are here to pick up some of my stuff and my cat. Alex is pleading with them not to take my stuff and to let me speak with him. I'm not sure what he expects from a conversation. The emotional and mental scar I have will take time to heal. I realize that therapy will be a long journey for me. Many people have noted that I experienced significant abuse from my mother. Knowing how much she dislikes me makes it simpler to cut off contact now. TLDR, I sent the messages to everyone. Dinner fell apart. Life is tough right now. I believe we will get through this. Thanks for all the messages and support. Thanks a lot. Reddit is a good site, except for the crazy people I've come across so far.